May 8th, 2010. Last month, I finally got my G2 license. In Ontario, Canada, this allows you to drive a car by yourself, as well as with some passengers after 6 months. I, of course, took advantage of this and drove into Caledon for a little Sunday drive. Since I haven't updated this blog in a while, I figured I might as well visit the house where the infamous channel of my childhood was located. The house looked different than when I last saw it in October. The place was no longer used as a daycare and just sat there abandoned. However, it did have a for sale sign showing that someone still owned it, wanting to get rid of it, it would seem. The abandoned house drew fuzzy memories from my mind, mainly of that day my dad took me to visit Mr. Bear. A feeling of dread came upon me. What happened to the children while they were living in that house? I walked up the steps to the front door and peered through the window. Inside, I could see a nearly empty hallway with a few boxes at the end. At the end of the hallway, to the right, was an open doorway, presumably leading to the kitchen. To the left were 2 doors, both apparently leading to the rooms visible through the windows outside. I wondered where the cellar entrance was and whether it had been sealed up. I walked around to the back of the house and found my answer. 2 wooden doors, lying at an almost flat angle, were padlocked shut. This had to be the cellar. Not wanting to hang around, you cannot imagine what was going through my mind at the time, I departed. Behind the house, the empty field continued on until it reached a dense forest that lined the horizon. I wondered if that was the forest where the bodies of the children had been found. I thought, screw it, and proceeded to walk across the field behind the house and into the forest. The forest was oddly quiet, save for the periodic sounds of a woodpecker drilling into a distant tree. I continuously made my way deeper into the woods, not really caring about the fact that I had no idea where I was going. I don't know how to explain it, but it felt like there was something I had to find. I came to a thinner part of the woods, and a few small houses stood in the distance. Polo's house crossed my mind as I wondered if one of those homes had belonged to him. I neared a small clearing in which I could see 3 adequately sized logs gathered around a black charred area, showing a small fire had been lit there very recently. "Hey, get out of our fort!" Those woods nearly gave me a heart attack. I turned to my left and saw 2 dark-clad people running towards me. My initial thought was to run, however, as they came closer, I saw they were really just kids in their early teens, probably 13 or 14, maybe even 12. As they approached me, they realized my size as well. I'm 6'1", while they could have been no bigger than 5'8". One might have even been 5'7". "Well, we said get out," the larger one said, who was wearing a Slipknot t-shirt. I stood my ground and shrugged. The shorter one was wearing a Metallica shirt, and he swung out a butterfly knife and held it in my direction. "No, you wouldn't want to," I said in a deep, serious tone, trying to sound as badass as possible. I pulled out my cell phone. The 2 kids withdrew, the one in the Metallica shirt putting away his knife. "Look, dude, we don't like people in our fort, so can you just go?" The one with the Slipknot shirt said, obviously intimidated. I had no business in the forest anyway, so I uttered out a single "fine" and turned before I realized I had a great opportunity. "Did either of you hear of a guy who murdered a bunch of kids in these woods about 13 years ago?" I asked. The 2 looked at each other in confusion before the one wearing the metallic shirt answered. "Yeah, everybody knows about that guy," he said, as if I were stupid. The kid in the Slipknot shirt continued. "He still lives around here in the storm drain. My big brother says he saw him in a bear costume once, wandering around the forest at night." My instincts told me this was probably a lie, and the owner of Camdon Local 21 is probably long gone, only existing as folklore in this small, isolated community. However, as a human, the thought of a mysterious unknown sparks interest within me. "And where is the storm drain?" I asked, just out of curiosity. I didn't actually believe the kid's story. The kid in the Metallica shirt stared at me for a moment, his eyes seemingly full of annoyance, yet curiosity as well. "You're not from around here, are you? Why did you even come here?" Now, I do admit I was slightly startled by the nature of the question. However, I figured I might as well explain why I was here, just in case people mistook me or my intentions. I told the two kids about my experience with the man in Camdon Local 21, and that I had come to maybe seek out some sort of closure, although even I wasn't exactly sure how. The two kids seemed familiar with the channel as they smiled and looked at each other when I mentioned it. They also became more understanding and gave me a detailed description on how to get to the storm drain. Shortly after, I decided to turn around the way I had come and head back to town, leaving the kids and their fort. But now, you're probably wondering why I left out such details about what the kids told me just now. It's because I'm choosing to conclude what I've gathered for now. Here is what the kids told me. The storm drain lies ahead of the kids' fort, same direction I was heading. The drain ends at a small river, where access to the water is drained out. Near here is a small playground. The kids told me that people rarely use it. The man supposedly lives in the large pipe that rainwater drains out of. People have seen him, although always either wearing a bear mask or the mask in a full-body bear costume. I don't believe this is true, and in fact, simply a myth made by the residents of Camdon. The story does not seem plausible in any way. Why did no one call the police? Didn't the guy look suspicious? And other questions like these leave the story invalid. I may visit the storm drain, not because I believe the story, but because it was an excuse to visit Camdon again. So this blog doesn't die. With no more tapes to watch, I don't know what else to talk about. Thanks for continuing to support me and my blog. I know many of you are looking forward to more information about what happened in Camdon during the year 1999. I'll do my best to continue my research into the topic. Elliot out for now. Update, October 7th, 2010. Wow, nearly 5 months since my last update. I'm guessing everyone pretty much thinks I'm dead, right? Thankfully, I'm not, but in all seriousness, I really have been busy these past few months, and a blog about something that could have killed me as a kid is a little low on my current priority list. As of now, I'm living in Waterloo, Ontario, attending the University of Waterloo for computer engineering. Yeah, I'm a keener. As you can imagine, engineering is no walk in the park, so obviously, I nearly forgot about the blog. But as you can see, I'm back. I remembered to visit the storm drain the kids from Camdon Forest told me about. It was out in a clearing between the wooded areas, nearly a marsh. Unfortunately, I found absolutely nothing, save for a turtle that retreated into his built-in home. I snapped some pics of the pipe, which I've posted as well. Also, let me tell you, it's not a storm drain like they said it was. What I saw was a simple pipe, possibly to channel the access water from the marsh. When I returned from Camdon, however, I simply kept putting off uploading everything until I forgot all about my blog. It just didn't seem important anymore. Please forgive me. It wasn't until only recently that I'm now interested in my case again. On September 10th, I received an email from this email address, returntheb@hotmail.com. Funny, am I right? Well, it gets better. I'm going to copy and paste the exact email this guy sent me. Dear Elliot, my dear boy, you see, this story may or may not be true, but it could happen. There are many slots for airtime. If you have money, you can have access to public TV channels. Some public access channels share airtime, like EWTN, religious channels based out of Michigan. That shows Catholic-based programming, but during off hours have independent shows or just blue screens. Cable networks have Amity channels available for rent space. So, the scenario of a pedo renting a channel on basic TV is not as far-fetched as you might think. However, public access TV is widely reviewed and can be terminated at any time. These are the rules for the United States, not for Canada, where this story takes place. So, this is happening in the U.S. The pedo would be tracked and arrested immediately. Yes, this story could happen, but it's unlikely. 100 fuzzy hugs, Mr. Bear. Now, obviously, this letter is fake and sounds almost corrupted, but still, I'd like to thank whoever sent it, though they could use some English lessons. Just reading this letter creeped me out, but because of it, I'm now full of this new interest to continue my blog. I guess it's just funny to try to pursue the mystery I've always questioned. Now, my roommates know all about this. They thought the letter was real and actually seemed more scared than I was for a second, but then I shrugged it off, so he did too. I mean, what are the chances of this being real? How could Mr. Bear know all about public access TV and about when I went to Camdon on those occasions? More or less know my email or me, still interested in the seller. It's fantasy, totally. I'm going to send a reply to return the bee. Wow, just looking at that email address, you can tell someone wanted to freak me out. It didn't really work, though. Although, whoever sent it, thank you for sparking my interest back in the full matter. Maybe I can find out more about what happened to Mr. Bear, hopefully, because although I don't buy the email, part of me still feels a little anxious. Thank you to all those who are still following me and have become avid fans. You're also why I'm choosing to continue this. Thanks, guys. You're still here. Thanks for stopping by. Dr. Plague here. Always a pleasure to see all my new and old viewers coming by for another one of my spooky tales. If you'd like to support the show, you can always take part in one of our channel offers through Fume or Aura, or you can just click on another video when they come up. I'd really appreciate it. For our newer viewers, we also have lots of playlists and other things if you'd like to get caught up. I know some of my series have been going on for quite a while. If you'd like to get my latest book, there's a link down below that'll take you to my Amazon page. Towesey Homestead just came out, so if that's something you'd like to get your hands on, go ahead and have a look down there. If you'd like a signed copy, you can go ahead and email me from my email address on the site, and I'll get with you about shipping information and ship you a signed copy. If you'd like to support the channel in a more monetary fashion, we also have membership through YouTube, and we've got a Patreon that you can get the information for in the description. We have lots of tiers and everything to suit your needs. Patrons that support on the $10 tier, that's our Ghostly Reader tier, get a book anytime I write one, signed and on their doorstep. As you may have noticed, there's a list of patrons and members on the screen, and I'd like to personally thank every one of them for taking a hand in the future of this channel. Well, that's enough for tonight. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.